Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're diving deep into a single chapter that honestly feels like a whole world in miniature. It's a story that kicks off in the smallest, most confined space you can imagine, a little boy's room, but by the end it expands to touch on ancient fears and a future that is, well, completely uncertain.
So, we start right here, with Bran Stark. This is just after that wild dream where the three-eyed crow promised him he could fly. But then he wakes up, and the reality is just crushing. This one line is the anchor for his entire state of mind. It's about that profound loss, that feeling of betrayal, and the brutal, brutal fact of his physical confinement.
You know, that window is everything to him right now. It's literally a frame for the life he just lost. He's watching his little brother and the wolves just running free, and you can imagine every laugh he hears is like a knife. And it's not just sadness, right? It's real anger. He's knuckling away tears, trying so hard to be what he thinks is almost a man grown. So first, let's explore this idea, a boy in a window, the prison of grief. Bran's entire world has shrunk down to the size of his bedroom, and his whole view is dominated by memories of everything he can no longer do.
I mean, look at this shift. It is absolutely devastating. Before, his life was all about movement, climbing, adventure, and now, he's static. He's trapped. He feels completely abandoned. With his family scattered, he feels like they all died while he was in his coma, or even worse, that he died and they've all just forgotten about him.
Okay, for our second section, Stories of the Long Night, the power of fear. Because as Bran is sitting there stewing in his own personal darkness, Old Nan comes in and introduces a much older, much deeper kind of fear through her stories. Old Nan, she isn't just a nanny or a caretaker. She's a living, breathing institution. In her mind, all the Brandon Starks from history have sort of merged into this one boy in front of her. Her stories aren't just tales she made up. She sees them as ancient truths. She's basically a vessel for the entire collective memory of the North. This line, man, this is one of the most powerful lines in the entire series. With just a few words, Old Nan completely dismisses Bran's personal tragedy, the fears of a summer child, she calls them, and she introduces him and us to a fear that's existential, it's elemental, the real fear, the kind that comes with a winter that can last an entire generation.
And her story of the long night is pure, distilled horror. Imagine it, a darkness that lasts for years, the invasion of these cold, dead things called the Others, and a last lone hero being hunted by giant ice spiders. And right as you're picturing that terrifying image, bam! The door bangs open. And that brings us to Section 3, A Dwarf in the Hall, the intrusion of reality. That mythic, ancient fear is completely shattered by an immediate political reality as Bran gets carried into a super tense meeting with Tyrion Lannister.
This whole confrontation is just a masterclass in power dynamics. You've got Robb trying so hard to be Robb the Lord, sitting in his dad's chair with a sword laid across his knees, but Tyrion just completely deflates the entire performance. He ignores the posturing, calls him a boy, and meets all these formal threats with his signature cutting wit. Which leads us to Section 4, an unexpected gift, the offer of hope. Just when the tension is at its absolute peak, the whole narrative pivots, and we get a moment of empathy from the most unlikely source imaginable. I mean, this is a genuine shocker, right? Tyrion Lannister, from the very family they all suspect pushed Bran from that tower, he's the one who offers a path back to the world. It's just pure practical compassion from one person who feels like an outsider to another. And then you hear Bran's voice, and it's so small and vulnerable. He wants to believe it so badly, but remember, he's just been tricked by that crow in his dream. You can feel the weight of his fear in this one question. Is this just another lie? Another false promise? Tyrion's promise here, wow. It's not just about riding a horse. It's about restoring dignity. It's about equality. He's telling Bran that his broken body doesn't have to define him, that on horseback he can be just as tall as anyone. Of course, the wolves don't get the nuance. They just sense a threat, and they attack. But in that chaos, something incredible happens. The boy who felt so helpless shouts a command, "No," and the wolves actually obey him. For the first time since his fall, Bran isn't the victim, he's the protector. He's in charge. So now for Section 5, hard news from the Wall, the widening darkness. Just as Bran finds this little glimmer of personal hope, the focus of the story gets violently pulled outward, revealing a much colder reality.
So news from the wall arrives. Benjen Stark went out ranging and he hasn't come back. And the recruiter, Yoren, he doesn't soften the blow at all. He just says, most like he's dead. And all of a sudden, old Nan's scary stories start to feel terrifyingly real.
And when Yoren says this, everything changes. Old Nan's story about the others is suddenly no longer just a scary tale to tell a kid. It's an immediate, chilling possibility. The line between myth and reality just dissolves.
And that brings us to our final section, a promise in the dark, hope in a frightened world. The chapter ends right back where it started, in Bran's room. But now that room is filled with these echoes of ancient legends and some seriously chilling news. The epic and the personal have finally come together.
As Robb carries Bran to bed, that mask of Robb the Lord just falls away. In the dark, he's not a lord. He's just a 14-year-old kid who's trying to hold his world together. And honestly, he's just as scared as his little brother.
And so he makes this promise. And it's such a sweet, almost desperate attempt to create this tiny pocket of hope. In a world where your uncle can just disappear into a haunted forest and ancient evils might actually be stirring, Robb offers the only thing you really can, the simple promise of an adventure between two brothers.
What's so brilliant about this chapter is it shows Bran just beginning to climb out of his own personal darkness, and he does it thanks to the kindness of an enemy. But just as his world finally starts to get bigger again, he discovers that a much older and frankly, a far more terrifying darkness has been waiting there for him all along.